Hello, welcome. We're back. We're back for our fourth. Oh, sorry, what's going on? Sorry, we're having
technical
issues.
difficulties.
Put in that one over there. Sorry, technical difficulties. So, hello, we're back for another one of our little live review episodes. So today, the plug's over there, honey.
What's going on?
There's plug issues. There's plug issues.
Okay.
I've stolen the adapter for the computer.
Okay. At least it's that kind of plug. That's all right. Yeah.
So we're back for another live stream, and we're talking about the last 3 episodes from Series 9, because Series 9 is now over. It came and went very quickly. I can't believe that it's been and gone so fast.
I didn't really feel the effect of a full Doctor Who series this year.
No, it's strange, and it's also strange that we've only got before the Christmas special, something like that.
Barely, yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't even feel like sorry, it's the ghost. It didn't even feel like that we're having that moment of we got such a long wait till Christmas, and it's just going to be like Christmas is going to go, and then the wait until Series 10, whenever that's coming out, probably not until the very end of 2016 into 2017. Wow.
Well,
it's a bit of a long day.
It's all right. It's fine. Don't worry. And your house is haunted, so that's it's excusable. Maybe they'll realise at the end of this series, maybe they should put it on at a different time of the year, because a lot of people have been complaining about the scheduling, specifically the time that some episodes are on, and this current sort of scheduling war that the BBC are in with ITV. I don't know if you're aware of this, but as a television student, I feel I must tell you. Basically the BBC and ITV are in a bit of a fracas at the moment with their scheduling over Strictly and the X Factor, because the ITV are convinced that the BBC is scheduling Strictly 5 minutes ahead of X Factor to clip the wings of the X Factor's viewing figures.
Oh, really? That's quite funny.
But then, of course, Strictly is a lead-in to Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So Doctor Who is going on opposite the X Factor. Is drawing 6-7 million, not as many as it has before. I mean, Strictly getting between 10 and 15 million viewers, and that's terrifying. Really? That's terrifying when you consider that that is like a 5 to 8 million drop between Strictly and Doctor Who.
That is shocking. I nearly made a joke that when you were talking about the scheduling war, that it was something like, X Factor, ITV are pissed off that the BBC are putting an equally shit program on against the X Factor, but apparently not. If they're getting like between 15 to 10 million views.
Equally shit. That could be argued of the past week's finale, but we'll get on to that.
But it's nothing's as shit as X Factor.
No. That's nothing's as soul-sappingly depressing as the X Factor.
That's one of the worst things. I saw someone post on Facebook the other day. It was a guy that I know called Jack, and he posted something along the lines of, this is when it was the finale. He said something like, Doctor Who's coming to an end. At least that means I don't have to sit through another shit episode of Strictly Come Dancing for another few months.
It's a good point. But, that's where the BBC are making their bread and butter at the moment. Strictly is becoming their flagship show.
Yeah, and that's a lot of that in the news lately about these dancers, that they're all up to no good, that 2 of them are dropping out. Yeah, loads of stuff. I keep seeing it.
See, at university, I'm sort of trapped in this bubble where the only live TV I watch by choice, and it's always either The Apprentice on a Wednesday or Doctor Who on a Saturday, and that's all the live TV I watch. Yeah, because I can watch it on the iPlayer, and I am paying my TV license this year as opposed to last year. But that's by proxy in the rent, so I sort of have a choice. So yeah, I'm not catching any. What's been happening? Not that it matters in a Doctor Who podcast. We're talking
No,
about.
I know. Well, this is it. We're just catching the feel of the program at the moment. That you've got to sit through a bit of shit about Strictly Come Dancing before you get to Doctor Who.
Or isn't this more of an effect that Doctor Who's had on us in the past week that we'd rather talk about Strictly than the actual program?
That neither of us watch. I couldn't tell you anyone who's on this program. All I've seen is that one woman's said she's leaving, and another woman was like, I think she took some time off or something. And then they saw her in the audience of the X Factor. I think the BBC got pissy with her for like betraying the BBC by going on an ITV program, something like that.
That is just like, nobody will get this. But back in the 90s, okay, we're talking about it's like completely different programs in completely different time frames. That's how bad Doctor Who was this week. Back in the 90s,
I've changed the title. It's not Doctor Who Live.
Okay, fine.
Anymore.
Back in the 90s, you had the WWE and WCW, right? Two massive companies who had primetime wrestling shows on Monday nights at the same time on different channels, right? Okay. And they got involved for 2 years in a thing called the Monday Night Wars. and that was that they would trade viewing figures, that one would get battered for like 18 weeks straight, and then the other one would get on top because of differing storylines and stuff. But you would have instances where like some wrestlers would leave the WWE because they got a better pay from WCW, and then on the same night, because WCW was because like WWE was pre-taped, and WCW was live, you'd get last week's WWE show which had that person in it, and on WCW they'd be appearing live for the first time and they'd be in the crowd.
Excellent. That is hilarious.
So that is like Strictly versus X Factor. It's the Saturday Night Wars.
It is. Wow. And then Doctor Who's just sort of like
Doctor Who's in the middle, sort of going, please notice me. Let's talk about that then. Okay, right, you start, because I've just waffled for a couple of seconds about wrestling, and that's not what this is about.
Before we carry on talking about Doctor Who, notable mention to the fact that last time's podcast, it's not really a podcast, that last time's episode was actually watched by a member of the Doctor Who cast. Reece Shearsmith actually tweeted me about the episode, about our little video. So it was quite a shock. Unfortunately, he then deleted the tweet, but I have it saved for prosperity.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's there. So that was nice. It was nice to see that.
It was lovely. It was lovely. It was a bit of a shame we couldn't work out whether or not he was thanking us genuinely or.
Yeah, it was a bit weird. Couldn't quite tell he was being sarcastic, but it was nice. It was at least it was nice to know that someone actually watched it. Yeah, someone of note.
Somebody of note. Not to say that our audience aren't of note, because I'm sure we've just driven away a couple of viewers there by saying we're not needed or wanted.
No, not like that. But people see people.
Yeah.
So let's go back. So the episode we last left this on, we just watched Sleep No More. So Face the Raven is the episode we're going to talk about first. So this was Clara's leaving story, or was it? So what do we think about this episode? Now, I thought that actually the premise of it was quite good. I actually rather thought it was quite nice. I quite liked the trap street idea, like the hidden street. I quite liked the idea of the alien refugees. I quite like the idea of the Raven, this quantum shade or whatever they called it. I liked all of that. I didn't like Maisie Williams in it again. But
do you not like her as an actress or her character? Because I think she's quite convincing as an actress. I do enjoy her in it.
Oh, really? I don't like her character at all. I don't really like her as an actress. But to be fair, all I've seen her in is this, and the fact that I don't like her character probably doesn't help. So I have no strong feelings towards Maisie Williams.
Maisie Williams. I like the irony that you've been mucking up your words, but I'm the one who's just started drinking a bottle of Heineken.
I've only got orange juice.
You nutter. I'm a little bit biased with Maisie Williams because I'm fairly certain she used to turn up to house parties when I was in sixth form.
Really?
Not when I was there, but I know somebody who knows her or knows somebody from Game of Thrones, and she would have been roughly my age at that time. So I'm guessing it's her.
But I thought she's only about 17 now, isn't she?
She's like 19 now, I think.
You say she's like 90. I was like, it's just a program, Billy. She isn't really immortal.
No, of course. I got ahead of myself there. I felt exactly the same way as you with Face the Raven. I thought the premise was the best part of it. Again, it's like this year we've been graced with 2-part episodes, but that's just accentuated the fact that I think all episodes need to be 2-parters.
2-parters, yeah, very much so.
Because even though, like, Face the Raven, Heaven Sent, and Hellbent was sort of like 3 episodes connected, more so the last 2.
Yeah,
it's weird because, like, in interviews they were even saying we're trying not to say that they're 2-parters. They were trying really hard not to say we're making 2-part stories, but obviously that's sort of what ended up happening. So I don't know if they were just trying to, distance themselves from saying we're doing 2-part stories and, basically what everyone's been calling for, or if they wanted to stick with the single part. Like, it was weird. Didn't you feel like, even though they were 2-parters, they were all quite unconnected? Like the Maisie Williams 2-parter halfway through the series, the girl who died and the woman who lived. It
was very odd. I think you're right. I think probably part of the thing was they didn't want to say we're doing 2-parters because they probably thought the audience were going to be like, oh, but that means that I have to watch last week's episode then. I can't just tune in this week and just see what's going on. Perhaps. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, they did feel disjointed. I mean, obviously we had the Zygon one and we had the missing eyes one, whatever that was called.
That's not Pipes you're thinking of, is it?
Yeah, Pipes. I was, those were obviously 2-parters, and obviously constructed as such. But yeah, I mean, I remember when we were talking about the Viking episode followed by the Highwayman episode, that those two, you could have had the Highwayman episode in next year's series. You could have left that whole thing for another year or two. That was how unconnected they were, really. It didn't feel like it was a necessity to have it one after the other. And yeah, again here there was, I don't know. I mean, I think probably Heaven Sent did feel more of it was quite a continuation of the other. Well, no, I don't know. It's quite funny. I can see why people would say that perhaps they're not strictly connected. I guess it's in the same way as An Unearthly Child leads straight into the Daleks. They're not the same story, but it just
but then in that case, they were individual stories with separate parts. They were clearly marked, like this is definitely one. And I saw people drawing parallels between this 3-parter and the Utopia, Last of the Time Lords, and the Sound of Drums 3-parter. That's clearly a 3-parter, and that's clearly meant to be a 3-parter. But I think I don't know if they're all meant to be 2-parters, except from like the Zygon story and the opening 2-parter, but they're all supposed to be interlinked and connected. And also the Under the Lake and Before the Flood story, and I'm probably missing another one out there. But it all seemed quite fractured, even though maybe that was the trouble with this year's arc, because I mean, we've said already this has probably been the worst arc in the show's history.
We'll go on to the arc when we get.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think, is there anything else that we can say about... well, let's talk about regarding Face the Raven.
Yes, of course.
So one thing that I didn't like was the really bad, obvious use of publicity photos on all the aliens' faces when you had that weird hologram glitch effect.
Yeah.
And it was just like, that looks really awful. Just don't do it.
Surely they've got some other photos of them other than the ones that are circulated in the press.
I mean, I can understand why they didn't want them all. I mean, I did think, why did they have to be disguised? Because, if no one...
It's only them in the street, isn't it?
Yeah, why do they need to look like they're humans? It seems, on the off chance a human's going to work their way in. They erased his memory and kicked him out. So it wasn't like he was going to be going, Christ, go down there. There's like Ood and Cybermen and Sontarans and stuff.
I suppose, though, even though they'd only use it if they wanted to leave Trap Street, which I'm not sure if they ever covered if they do.
Yeah, it wasn't clear.
The fact is, it is a refugee spot. So clearly there's somebody looking for them. So if they disguise themselves in Trap Street, if whoever was looking for them, if, that Cyberman who had emotions for some reason and didn't
God, that was the next thing I was just
okay, we'll get on to that in a minute. Like obviously, if the platoon from that Cyberman belonged to wandered in, they wouldn't automatically be able to tell which one of the, I suppose, few hundred people there were on Trap Street it was. So in that regard, it works. But I mean, I think, again, we're just going around this thing of the premise being far more exciting or more interesting than necessarily the execution allowed it to be.
Yeah, and look, we're going back to that Cyberman thing. That was very weird. I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, well, it was just obvious that they had a damaged emotional inhibitor," but it's like, well, Joe Blogs on the street who watches this program. I mean, to be honest, I guess they don't really care that Cybermen don't have emotions, but it just felt strange. I think the thing is, I think it's been done too much now. I think it was, and I don't think the new series, when they have done that whole thing of here's a Cyberman, let's give it emotions because it's creepy and a bit weird. I don't think they've ever done it well. Like the bit in Rise of the Cybermen when you've got that one led down and she's like, I don't want him to see me before the day because it's bad luck and it's like, you get married.
I forgot about that.
But and the idea is meant to be like, oh, that's creepy because this creature that isn't a woman anymore, But it just doesn't really work. I think Big Finish they've got that perfectly. They've done it quite a few times. They did it in Spare Parts, and they did it in Silver Turk, which I listened to the other day, which is superb.
Do you enjoy it? Because I knew you hadn't heard that before.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was excellent. I was like, I was listening to it, and I was like, why can't we get this on television? It's probably too scary.
I don't think anything's too scary anymore. I think TV's not scary enough. I mean, like the stuff we've been seeing in the past couple of weeks, it's just been like child's play. Like not the film, obviously.
The
that's
news
terrifying.
is more frightening than anything that the BBC could put out.
The real world is way more terrifying than anything we're seeing on TV. Yeah. And I don't know. I'd rather see something to genuinely terrify me out of my wits. Like the idea of coming back and seeing a Yeti sitting on your toilet and tooting back. To me right now, it's like, would I rather it be a Yeti or a member of ISIS? Like, I don't know, and it's a bit of a toss up between
Yeti. Right. I think.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
So I think I don't think that I don't think that really worked, and I think they had that moment where Capaldi sort of said something to Ashilda or me, which I hate, to Ashilda. I'm going to call her Ashilda for this. And there was like a moment where she turns around and she's like, "Oh well, something about do you think a Cyberman is scared of dying?" And then there was like a beat, and you had like a Capaldi doing as if to say, "Oh my God, it's a Cyberman that can feel emotion." But it was like no one was really thinking, "Oh my God." It was more like, "Wait, why? Why is it?"
Hang on, what?
Yeah, that was the bit that they cut. Is when the doctor turned around and went, "Why?"
Fucking bollocks.
Are you sure? Why did it have to be a Cyberman? It could have just been anything. It could have been a nude. It could have been
give it to a monster that's got a little bit more empathy to it than a Cyberman, because Cybermen are emotionless, and we've seen them do is kill, and cry oil. But go on.
This would have been a good chance to use just throw away names of shit aliens from the past and be like, oh yeah, there's a Bandrel over there, and oh yeah, that's the Borad over there. And,
you beat me to the Borad. Yeah, it would have been nice.
That's a Monotra.
we could have seen, like, you know, didn't need to use those shit publicity photographs. We could have, you know, we know they have like tons of costumes they could use, like in The Experience, like that Menoptera costume from An Adventure in Space and Time. Just like throw stuff like that in for a laugh, you know, like. I think they're sort of blurring. I think they're blurring the lines between, oh, let's have a little laugh with the continuity of the show, and actually genuinely making a reference to it.
Yeah.
But then there were lots of references to continuity in the final story, but we still need to. So let's say a rating for Face the Raven. What would you say?
Well, what about Clara's death?
Oh yeah, that really important piece of plot that wasn't ruined 2 stories later.
Yeah. But, you know, she came back in the following story, albeit as a cameo. Absolutely. And it was just like, why do you do this? Why?
Well, you know,
there again, Adric did come back the following week, but no one cares about Adric.
Nobody cares about Adric.
Yeah.
A bit of shameless plugging, but like in my video that I made, the review of Hellbent, which I do sort of look back on now and go, calm down, mate. It was literally like the most hyperbolic, like instant reaction.
When I watched it, I was like, oh, yeah, all right.
I know. I had a bit of a breakdown. But like when I was thinking about that death scene, I've lost my train of thought. Anyway, Clara's death was like, yeah, it was fitting for the character. Like the setup for it was like, you know, people don't like Clara because she's, you know, she's all, you know, she's above it and she's like the Doctor 2.0 and she's only doing what the Doctor would do. And in that case, it made complete sense. Like kill her off like that. That's fine.
I think it's a shame, really, because I really liked her in series 7 and 8.
Yeah.
And then they did that to her, and it was like, why?
I think it's just that they can't just allow characters to be themselves. Actually,
no.
The reason you asked, I was going to say that you asked, like, oh, why do they have to like do that to the character and stuff? The reason is that, like I've said before, Stephen cannot let his characters and creations just die. He just has to keep bringing them back because, you know, he's far too clever to kill off a character. He's far too clever to let that happen to one of the things he's created. And I think, you know, every major character in the series he's created, he's killed off and then brought back, because I honestly can't think of another reason why, other than he feels like he can't destroy something he's created that's so beautiful, you know?
Well, it's not even just his own creations. I mean, think about Jenny, Doctor's daughter. He turned around to Rusty Davies and said, oh, don't kill her off. And he was like, why? Well, you know, I might use her. No, never used her. Although he did say in an interview that actually after that moment where she lifts off in the spaceship, she crashes into a moon.
That was in the Doctor Who Festival. He said that. It was amazing.
So there we are. Unequivocally, she's dead.
She's dead. Thank God. Also, it would be weird bringing her back now knowing that she's married to David Tennant. That could be a bit...
Yeah. It's very odd.
A bit creepy. Yeah.
I mean, the actual execution of Clara's death. One thing that made me laugh is, you know, she's got the tattoo, the counter on her neck.
Oh, how many people are going to get that now?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. So she's got. I thought that was quite a neat idea, actually.
Yeah.
The tattoo.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite clever. She had like 2 minutes left to die before she died. They were talking for at least 5 minutes between them. It was like, this Raven should have just come through mid-sentence. But what I didn't like, you know, obviously they always big it up, you know, and okay, some people like that, some people don't. I personally think they could maybe underplay it a bit, you know, don't necessarily make it such a big dramatic moment. You know, let the drama come from the fact that, holy shit, she's dead. And what I didn't like was she goes out to face the Raven and it hits her in the chest. And you think, all right, that's it. We're going to show it again from 3 or 4 different angles in slow motion. And not only that, we're going to, after she's just been hit, well, what should have happened is she should have been hit in the chest and she should have just dropped to her knees and slumped down. That would have been horrible and harrowing, and everyone would have been like, "My God, it's like she's really died."
I tell you what, even the smoke
and then go,
even the smoke coming out of her mouth was like, "Oh shit, that's fucking like bit near the knuckle, isn't it?"
But when you have her going, like that in slow motion repeatedly. It's sort of, I just laughed. I just thought, this isn't sad. This is ridiculous. This is stupid. Who sat down and went?
Isn't that something from The Omen?
Oh, is it?
When they go through, somebody goes through a plate glass window, and they wanted the director said, "Oh, I know people are going to look away when it happens, so I'll play it 3 times over and over, so that when they move their hand away from their eyes, they'll have to look at it. They'll see it." But it's like, it doesn't work when it's Jenna Coleman going. It doesn't work.
if she'd been decapitated by a sheet of glass, that might have been slightly different.
If the actual Raven that they got to play the Raven had, flown a bit too high and just, taken a neck clean off with their beak, that would have been slightly different. That
would have been a different moment altogether. Yeah, so I didn't quite like that, but it was sad, and I was sad to see her go, because I really have liked Jenna Coleman in the part. It will be sad to see her go. But yeah, I just think that was a bit odd. And then, of course, the Doctor had to give up his confession dial to me, and got teleported away somewhere, which leads us in to Heaven Sent.
Well, firstly, can we say, what's our score for Face the Raven?
What's our score? I don't know. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't brilliant. 6 or 7, I don't know. The 7 might be a bit too much.
I think I'm probably settling more for a 6, to be honest.
Yeah, it was all right,
And I've got to say, brace yourself.
Yeah.
I did actually cry a bit. You
cried?
Yeah.
I did get a bit like, oh dear, she's gone, but I didn't cry.
It was because it wasn't because of Clara. I was like, oh shit, the Doctor's on his own. That's really depressing. And the fact that he's like a bloke who can't control his anger. It's like a guy with anger management issues. And it's like, oh man, like his carer's gone. Like, that's really depressing, And, they even made a joke about it being, his carer in the last series. But it was like, she clearly meant so much to him, and he's on his own now. I felt really sorry for Capaldi just because of the performance he had in that last scene. It was like, he's like absolutely torn up by it, and he knows he can't do anything, to stop it.
That's the thing, actually. My brother texted me after that, and he said, if that had been any of the other new Doctors, they'd have been sobbing and in tears and all this, that, and the other. Maybe not Eccleston, but Tennant and Smith. They'd have been in tears. And he's like, I'm so glad that he wasn't like that. But he was very composed throughout. And, his eyes have got a little bit watery, but...
I think he's saving the tears. I think he's saving the tears for his regeneration.
You reckon?
I reckon. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want him to cry when he regenerates.
Well, just a little, as he's falling back. And, we'll get onto it in the last episode, but... No, I won't talk about it now. We'll move on to Heaven Sent.
I think I know what you're going to say. And it's probably what I'm thinking as well.
So, what did you think of Heaven Sent?
Heaven Sent. So, obviously, Heaven Sent was an interesting one because he was the only character in it, sort of. What did I think of it? Well, I know people loved it. I know that general consensus is, lots of people saying it's brilliant, that it's masterpiece, and that it's like some of the best television they've ever seen, and all that, this and that and the other. I thought it was an interesting experiment. I thought it worked, but I don't think that script was as watertight as some people might think it is. And I think for me, that sort of took it out of me a bit, and I was it detached me from what was going on. And I mean, you can say that about any episode of Doctor Who, but when you're punching a wall made of something that is 400 times stronger than diamond, and not only is as hard as diamond, it's 400 times stronger than diamond, it's like, what? And I just thought, surely the Doctor being the Doctor, I don't like the fact that he just like, I'll punch my way through it. He's the Doctor. He's got a bloody head on his shoulders. He's got a brain in his skull.
Absolutely. And especially considering that he left that shovel behind.
Yeah, well, I said on Facebook what they should have done, and weirdly enough, the Radio Times then posted an article where a scientist said something quite similar. He should have used his sonic sunglasses, and he should have used it on the wall, done something to create a crack, like a hairline fracture in the wall, and then used the spade or something to attack that little bit. And then maybe over millions of years, that small hairline crack would start to give way, and then that would break. That would have, to me, that would have made a bit more sense, and it wouldn't have, it wouldn't have been anything difficult to do. The doctor could have just done, oh, I know, I'm going to do this, and blah blah blah, and get the spade and whack it. Yeah, that's fair enough. And another thing that annoyed me with that is that he managed to, even though he was only punching one part, he managed to punch an entire archway the perfect height. So on the goes that we didn't see, did he go, you know what, today, this time round, I'm going to have to go over this side?
No, that's right. I hadn't considered that. And yeah, well, well, if we're going to start complaining about that, should we fundamentally start complaining about the fact that there's a blue box that travels through space and time? And
no. Now this is the thing. This is what everyone was saying to me. All these people.
I'm sort of playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, I know you are, you bastard. No, because we know that a man with two hearts and stuff. That's it's all nonsense. So, but we know it's nonsense, and we know it's nonsense in real life. But we know that diamond is a real physical substance that we know is incredibly strong. So to then take something that is part of our reality, use it in this concept, and then change the rules of physics is like, well, hang on a minute. That doesn't make sense. If you're going to change the rules of physics, do something to it for those rules to have then changed. Not just, fuck it, we're just going to punch the wall and it'll break over a few billion years.
Okay.
I mean, I know people will probably think, well, that's such a small thing. There's other things, like...
No, it's a thing. It's a thing, and I agree with you.
Think about the doctor's clothes. So he goes there, and he gets out of his wet clothes, and his clothes are hanging up on the horse next to the fire, and he picks them up, and we don't think anything of it. We think that's a bit weird. And then it becomes apparent that these have been left behind by one of his past selves who have gone through this whole thing. The question I have is this: did the first doctor who got there get his clothes wet and go, shit, I've got no change of clothes. Oh, I'll just wander around in the underpants and just leave these to dry?
It's a very good point.
Or did the Time Lords leave them there? Did they think, oh, just in case for some reason he goes for a swim, but we'll leave him an exact copy of his clothes?
And also, okay, I've got two questions, but I wasn't going to say this, but jogged my memory. If the room resets to its previous state,
yeah,
when he left his clothes in there, wouldn't they have also disappeared?
That is true, yeah.
And also, unless they mentioned something about it in the script, the diamond room, wouldn't that have...
Yeah, why didn't that reset?
Wouldn't that have reset? Okay, right. Those things aside...
There was another one I just had. You said, and now I can't think of what it was. Oh, that's really annoying.
You need to say it before I say my piece.
What was that with the door? When he put his head against the door and he was like, oh, when I was younger and psychic, I can unlock the door with my brain. What are you, Magneto? Are you using the power of Magneto to open the latch? Who knows this? Nonsense. Just see, what I miss is when the doctor was... he had ingenuity about him, and he would be like, "Oh, hang on, I've got a lock pick on me, or I've got a paper clip on me. I'll use that to pick the lock." Just sound like that, or is that too old hat now? Is that just like too old school? Who picks locks?
Oh, that sounded like such a Stephen Moffat line right then.
What? Who picks locks?
Who picks locks?
Oh Christ!
Who picks locks when you've got a laser gun? And knowing him, when you've got a laser gun and knockers, yeah.
Sonic trowel now, isn't it?
Sonic trowel. Fuck off. Let's not start. 9 out of 10. So the next episode was Hellbent, and I did like it.
You did like it. See, there's the thing. I liked it. And people were saying, "Oh, but you're not getting the point that it's like that his determination, is that's what's getting him through." It's like that's not even a metaphor. It's so blatantly obvious that you could be blind, deaf, and not watch the program, and you could still go, "Yeah, that was a metaphor for that." And that's not clever. I'm not sat there thinking, "Oh, marvelous, what brilliant writing." I just sat there going, "Why is he punching the fucking wall?" But it's just I know. I'm going to stop because
no, it's fine. I don't want you to get ahead of yourself, considering we've still got one really shit episode to go. All right, just
and when you're saying it's shit, and we know it's shit.
How does that make sense? Just because I like Paradise Towers and you don't.
Well, I think most of the civilized world would agree with me on Paradise Towers.
Just because I like Paradise Towers and The Rescue more than most Tom Baker stories. Oh shit! Eekers threw the gauntlet down.
Well,
I enjoyed. Go on.
So, speaking of gauntlets, let's move on to.
I haven't said my piece about Heaven Sent yet.
Sorry. Apologies.
Jesus, slow down, mate.
I'm so busy getting angry about it.
I know it's your YouTube channel, but hold your horses. Yeah, I liked it. That's it. No, I really enjoyed it. And it just goes to prove that just sticking Peter Capaldi in a room by himself, he'll just produce magic, pretty much.
Oh yeah, I can't fault Capaldi. He was excellent in it, and I liked the idea. I liked this idea of him being trapped in this place and this thing coming after him and him doing all these different things. I liked all that. It was just until the end. And I didn't mind the whole thing of him like burning himself up so that he could bring himself back and keep going over it. I know it wasn't quite a time loop, but he was. That didn't bother me whatsoever. I didn't mind that. It was just, and I thought Murray Gold's music throughout that
was amazing.
Was really good. There was one bit that I really liked. I mean, I liked the bit when
I know which bit you're going to say.
Go on, man.
With his little eyeglass looking at the crack painting. I know.
It was like Peter Howell or Paddy Kingsland, or like one of these old school. And I thought, I hope the music's going to be like that throughout the rest of the episode, or you'll get a bit more of it. Sadly, that was the only bit. But it was like,
I like the fact that there was sort of like I don't know what it was. It was this huge orchestral classical score all the way through. Yeah. I thought it really suited the location. And I thought if the Doctor was having his last stand and he was about to die or whatever, and he had to face his fears, he'd be listening to something like that. Like he'd be listening to something timeless and classical, like, Madame Butterfly, it had odes of that in it. And, he'd be that if he was in a dream or if he was in a nightmare. I mean, if it was in my nightmare, it'd be One Direction. But if he was in his dream or nightmare in his head, he'd be listening to, some opera. He'd be listening to some massive, sprawling classical track, which I think somebody said was Mozart. I don't know. I think there was some little lyrical bits of Mozart in there. Okay. But yeah, I thought it was great, and I've always loved my favorite kind of monsters are always the lumbering ones that will never stop coming after you. They're always my favorites because that's the scariest thing. It's like you can run, but you'll run out of energy and you'll hurt yourself, but these things won't stop.
And that was quite horrible, when the thing grabbed him by the face, and you saw him, and then you saw all of his burnt, mangled face. That was quite. Quite
that was like pushing the boat out. That was like something you'd write in one of your 8th Doctor action figure adventures, like something really grim, except obviously your writing.
You know what happens when I become showrunner.
Everyone's just going to have horribly scarred faces. But obviously, of course, your writing's much better. But yeah, it was.
I don't think
it was great. I've got to say that it's probably gone down as one of my favorites of the new series, alongside, you know, I don't know, stuff like, there's not many episodes I really love in the new series. Like, I love, you know, proper Doctor Who. It's probably gone alongside stuff like Listen in the new series that I really liked, which I know you didn't like. It's funny, these Moffat episodes, isn't it?
It's funny when you're saying that, because when I sort of thought about it afterwards, I thought, this is a bit of a Listen, you know, that, I don't know, it's just, I think, and someone else said, part of the problem, and I hadn't really sort of thought about it, was that really the episode in itself is just, how can we get to Gallifrey without getting to Gallifrey for 55 minutes?
Sure.
You know? So I can understand where people are coming from when they say nothing really happened. And I think what I was anticipating was more of a character piece. It's like we were going to really get into the Doctor's skin, you know, and really get into his head. And I don't know. And what we really got was just Peter Capaldi saying, he was just sort of narrating what was happening. On that note, another thing that pissed me off, I don't know if this irritated you, the whole Mind Palace thing that was clearly nicked from his own Sherlock series. That was so annoying. Every moment that something was about to happen, oh, we're back in the TARDIS, and oh, what's happening? Fuck off! Stop doing this. You know, I think Sherlock very much.
It's so clever to go, the Doctor's in peril, he's gonna die, and then we go somewhere else, and you know, we see his thought process, and it's like, sometimes I think this is my problem also with the final story. Do you know what? Sometimes it's nice to just not have the answers to stuff. Sometimes it's nice to just be left wondering and thinking, and you know, maybe we don't get an answer to something, but it's not something, you know, it's not like who actually blew up the TARDIS in Series 5. You know, it's not an answer that doesn't go unanswered because you just can't be asked. It's a question like, why did the Doctor really leave Gallifrey? Do we really need that answered? Like, do we even want it to be answered? I certainly don't. Because, you know, I've said a lot about how I think it's one of the coolest stories ever that he just left because he was bored and he took the president's daughter with him. Like, that's just the coolest, like, you know, rebellious thing to do. And to then, for him to then turn around and get... Also, no, that doesn't make sense. Ignore me. I was thinking of Time of the Doctor. No, yes, I'll still make this point, but I won't make the exact point I was going to make. Time of the Doctor. Moffat has this weird obsession with the Doctor, with character.
Oh, I think we've gone down. You've gone quiet. Sorry about this, folks. If you're not hearing Billy, you're only hearing me. I don't know when he'll be coming. Oh no, we might be having something of him back. No. Oh dear. Now, let me just see if there's anything I can do to get Billy back. Hold on a second. Right. Okay. We've we've lost Billy, unfortunately. I'm sure he'll come back in a moment. So while he's away, I'll just give some of my thoughts on Hell Bent. So we have the first 5 minutes of the story where the Doctor doesn't really say anything. Oh dear. We've actually completely lost Billy now. Dear. Hold on. Just see if I can get him back. Yeah, perhaps. Oh no. Oh, wait, he's back. Hey, there he is.
What the hell happened there?
I don't know. I was sort of trying to talk about Doctor Who and fix the thing while you were gone. So I don't know. Last I heard, you were just about to say something about in Time of the Doctor. And then you went.
I've said it off camera now for the past minute, so I'm not going to bother saying it again. No, it was literally just a point about Moffat's got. Actually, no, it's prepared me for actually saying it properly because I was waffling when I was talking to myself in my room. Moffat's got this weird obsession with characters having to wait millennia, and he somehow thinks that's like character development for like Rory the Roman and the 11th Doctor to like wait centuries, like the 11th Doctor protecting Trenzalore for like centuries or whatever it was, and then Rory waiting all those years for Amy, and now the 12th Doctor, 4.5 billion years. It's sort of like you can't go much further than that, mate.
Now that actually doesn't make any sense because that whole 4.5 billion years, because all right, technically, yeah, it was 4.5 billion years, but for that Doctor, it was only from when he stepped out of the teleporter and punched the wall. And he wasn't there in the castle for 4.5 billion years. He doesn't remember what all the other people, or all the other Doctors that they've done it. He only remembers, I've just left Clara getting killed by the Raven. Sure. I'm here for however long that I'm here for. I don't know, a month. I don't know, however long, if it's ever actually stated. So when he's there and she's there like, why would you do that to yourself? He's like, but he doesn't know that. He doesn't know he's been in there for 4.5 million years or whatever.
Wasn't he told that he was by the High Council? Isn't that where that comes from?
Oh, is it? Oh, maybe. But from his own experience, it wouldn't have felt like 4.5 billion years. It might have felt like months.
Well,
we
don't actually know how long he was in the thing for. He mentioned something about I can only sleep for 40 minutes or whatever. Yeah. If I do this, I can, I'm awake for 11 hours or whatever it was. I can't remember the exact time frame. Somebody could probably work out exactly how much time he spent in that castle, judging by the size of it compared to like what he said in the script. But yeah, okay, stop. You're ruining the episode for me now, Matt. Let's talk about
But you didn't like Hellbent.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I've already said my stuff about it, and I'll reiterate it again if you want, but you go first.
Okay, right. Well, when I watched it the first time, when it aired, I quite enjoyed it. Now, I know that's going to sound quite mad, because obviously you had the complete opposite reaction. And I think I was blindsided by a few things. The first thing was that Gallifrey looked nice. The second thing was we had a classic series console and we had all the old noises.
That's how he gets you. That's how
I know.
He's trying to distract you with brightly coloured bibble so you don't look under the surface.
And I was rewatching it the other day and I was like, oh, that noise is from the 70s and that's from the 60s, that's from the 80s, that's from that story, and that's from that story. I was like, wow, that's good. But then once I watched it again, I mean, I'd seen what people had said about it online, and I was like, yeah, it's true, that is true. And then I rewatched it, and a lot of the things that I felt deep down inside but hadn't voiced came just bubbling to the surface when I rewatched it. So, first of all, Rassilon. What a pile of shite. Now, you said this in your video. That could have been a 2-part story in and of itself. The Doctor versus Rassilon to get Gallifrey back, to get rid of the High Council, who were instrumental in causing all of the horrors of the Time War. What does he do? Just piss off, go into the wilderness. And that was it. And Rassilon was as good an actor as Donald Sumpter is. Just an old git. He was just an old git. Whereas Timothy Dalton was excellent. Timothy Dalton had power. And I've seen that people have sort of said, oh, well, that was the point, that when he regenerated, that, he'd lost everything, that, he was no longer this charismatic leader and all this kind of stuff, which I can see what they're saying. But I think from a satisfied viewer point of view, I'd have much rather have seen Peter Capaldi fight against the Time Lords and get Gallifrey back with a band of a few stray members of the Chancellery Guard and the general character and, some of the outsiders. They band together to overthrow this tyrannical dictator, and, Gallifrey becomes the planet that we all know and love, with stuffy old gits talking about their bad hips and stuff. but it, that 5 minutes, it was just like, did that even really need to be Rassilon, to be honest? Did it have to be Rassilon? And it was very odd because it didn't really feel like it gelled with what we'd seen before. It was like there was a period between the end of time and this episode that we hadn't seen, but it just seemed so glaringly obvious that it was missing and that it was never touched upon. So, what happened with the Master? Did John Sims' Master attack Rassilon? He regenerates, the Master escapes, becomes a woman. What happened there, and why? It was the Doctor's reaction to the character. It wasn't like last time I saw you were going to kill every person on Earth just so you could survive. It was just like, you've been a naughty boy. Go and sit in the corner over there and don't come back until you've learned your lesson. I was like, this is madness. What's going on? It's like fuck the Time War. Forget all the deaths and unnecessary atrocities that have happened. Just go over there, because that's not the story that I'm going to tell today. I'm going to tell a story about Clara and how she is going to come back from the dead, and how the Doctor is going to break all of his own rules just to bring her back. And it was just like, no, don't tell that story. Tell the Rassilon story. Tell the story with all the Chancellery Guards fighting people. Show us Gallifrey. Show us stuff going on in the cloisters. Don't go, oh yeah, the cloister wraiths, the sliders, they're terrifying. Don't say that and then don't have them do anything. Just sliding around with TIE fighter noises from Star Wars, if anyone watching picked that up. Because I noticed
I heard Star Wars noises and I didn't even like Star Wars.
Yeah, I was like, that's a TIE fighter. And then they came around again. I was like, that is a TIE fighter. Why do you sound like TIE fighters? That's really glaring and irritating. But there we go. Yeah, they pick them up like, oh yeah, they're these scary things, and we've got like a crappy nickname for them that is apparently offensive, so don't say it because I'm on the phone to the president or whatever it was. You remember that? The guy was like, oh, there's the sliders, and he was like, careful what you're saying, I'm with the president. Oh, sorry. It's like, what? And they didn't do anything. They just came up to the camera and went, and that was it. I was like, wow. Terrifying, absolutely horrifying. Do something. Forget the Weeping Angels, forget the Dalek, forget the Cyberman that was just, what were they, left over from the games? Should have said that. That would have been good. That would
have been awesome.
Left over from the games.
Do you know what I thought they were going to do? That he was trapped. He wasn't trapped in the confession dial. He was trapped in the wars, in the death zone. The war zone. Death zone. That would have been really cool. Been good.
Yeah, that could have been the two of Rassilon. But I liked all that. I liked all that underneath, the cloisters and stuff. I thought, okay, that's fair enough. The big database and everything. Why not? That's just an extra layer of the mythos that we're adding to. Go for it. But yeah, don't big up these creatures that do bugger all. What's the point?
Let your hate flow through you. Yeah, it was it was crap. It was all such a load of old shit. I just and I wouldn't say that if we weren't dangled the prospect of the Doctor versus the Time Lords, exciting story, and then he was like, no, we're gonna do Clara's coming back instead. I was, oh my god, no. There were so many moments in it where it was like, the ending moment. And the moment that really was the one that really pissed me off, because like, okay, fine. All right. If we're going to do Clara, let's do Clara. And we're going to find out, that'd be weird. If we're going to do this story about Clara, let's do this story about Clara. And if we're going to find out what the hybrid is, let's find out what the hybrid is. Right.
Oh God, I forgot we have to talk about that.
So then what he does is, okay, we'll do the Clara story, which, I thought, flying away to the end of time, to the end of the universe, which is clearly just he only wrote that in the script so he could put that into the Radio Times billing for it. The Doctor and Clara go to the end of the universe.
Oh, yeah.
Bollocks. And then when he gets there, he has this confrontation with Ashildr. And at the end of Heaven Sent, he goes, "The hybrid is me." And it's like, that's very cool. Okay, nicely done. And then he has this confrontation with Ishilda, and he goes, "You're the Hybrid," and she goes, "I might be, but I've got a better theory." And I was just all the way through. I was, "Stop it! No, you've done it. You've done it. You've just said it. Just leave it like that. Please, just leave it like that. You actually said that really nicely." And everybody was like, "Oh my God, yeah, just leave it like that." And then he has to keep twisting that knife in, doesn't he? He has to keep going, "No, I'm smarter than you all think I am. Look how clever I am when I write. Look, it's going to be something completely different. It's a red herring. It's a double red herring. It's a, she's a triple agent." Like, oh my God, why can't you just let this one thing happen without just making it shies?
He's become a bit of an M. Night Shyamalan, that in the way that, he had these really good ideas with these really good twists. And now he's like trying to recreate those twists, but they're always crap.
And the fact that everybody's praising him for writing what was his for writing about The Sixth Sense, which is like Moffat's Blink, and then he writes The Happening, which is like Hell Bent.
Hell Bent, yeah.
I'd rather watch The Happening than Hell Bent. Now that is horrific, a statement to make. It angered me. It angered me, the whole thing, and the fact that you bought into it as well, Matt. Look at the look at the classic TARDIS. Look how pretty it is, and you're not thinking, yeah.
And there's other things that irritate me with this story. So we've got he shoots that Time Lord. Now, normally, if he was going to shoot a Time Lord, fair enough, shoot a Time Lord. But he knew that this Time Lord was going to waste a regeneration. My Doctor is not callous enough to do that, I'm afraid. Not to save some annoying human. He would not go to those great lengths. He wouldn't be like, "Well, what regeneration are you on? I'm on my 10th. You're fine. You got another few to go. You're all right." Boom.
He just shot him.
What a dick.
So...
And the general sort of, when he was going to do it, he was like, "Oh, good luck, sir." Like, don't say that to him. He's going to shoot you, you twat. It was like he's going to shoot you. It was either him or me. It's like, no, you were going to probably escape with Clara anyway. You didn't need to shoot him. You didn't need to shoot him.
You could have stunned him.
Yeah, just punched him in the face, or do something, do anything, or shoot him in the leg. Why shoot him point blank?
No. He can't shoot him in the leg because Stephen Moffat needs to reaffirm that Time Lords can regenerate into Time Ladies, and there is no other way to do it other than wreck your main characters. Don't be cruel or cowardly or callous or murderous. Don't be like that. The only way that Stephen can shoehorn in, it's not an anomaly that Time Lords turn into Time Ladies, is to have your main character murder somebody just for the sake of telling fans once and for all it can happen. And then Tumblr goes wild. "Oh yeah, fantastic, yeah, amazing." But you've just had your lead character, who was against all forms of violence, murder another Time Lord. It doesn't matter if that Time Lord has gone, "It's all right, mate, I've got a couple more on the clock, just shoot me." That doesn't matter. You've just had the Doctor, who has never callously murdered anything, ever, just murdered a Time Lord because you needed to tell the fans it's possible that you could have done that in a completely different way.
Yeah, it was stupid.
Wreck your character.
Just as a side note, before anyone turns around and says, "Well, actually, Matthew, the 8th Doctor shot and killed a Time Lord in your series," that was slightly different. This person was about to destroy all of the universe and was instrumental in that, and had just killed another Time Lord, and the Doctor had just been through the Time War and had had all this shit happen to him, and was just like, "Fuck it." The 12th Doctor, all right, he'd been stuck in a disc for a few billion years, but it seemed like a nice place to live. He had a bed, he had flowers,
and his companion hadn't just died. Oh no, wait, no, that's the same in both. Stephen's watching your episodes.
Well, someone posted a thing about on Twitter and screen grabbed the bit from that same story where the Time Lords have got him up against the firing range and he's going to get shot, and there are a few other things. So he's been watching my stories, the bastard.
Absolutely.
And butchering them.
Oh yeah, and making them shit.
Yeah.
Okay, I watched it again.
Okay.
And the second time I watched it as a live commentary on YouTube, and it was loads of fun.
Yeah.
And I watched it, and I actually enjoyed it a lot more the second time around.
Oh, okay.
But only by like 1 or 2 points more.
Right.
Because when I was watching it, the only time I actually enjoyed it, other than the only time I enjoyed it after Clara came back, other than seeing Gallifrey and going, "Oh my god, this is going to be so exciting," was when they had that conversation when she said, "I'm going to tell you something," and you never hear what's said. Oh, yeah. And I really liked that bit, and I watched it again, and I thought, you know, that bit's it's a really nice little character moment. It's not even just nice. It's really quite sweet that they're having this little dialogue between each other, and you never find out what they're going to say, and the Doctor will never remember what they said. Oh no, hang on a minute. No, that was a nice bit, but it is now ruined by the fact that he has completely forgotten what she said.
Yeah.
You know what? It's just all this stuff was just building up between, all this promise of all this really nice, exciting stuff, and then Stephen in the same episode goes, "You can't have that," and then like rips it out of people's hands, and it was infuriating all the way through. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more the second time around. Probably, is it the worst of the series, Matt?
Oh, I don't know. Now are we going a bit too far?
I enjoyed it more than the second part to the Ishilda two-parter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was definitely the worst episode.
So I'd say that's probably the second worst, in my opinion. Okay. So in that case, I'd give it a 4 or a 5 out of 10. 4.5 out of 10 the second time around. The first time around, it was like, kill me. Because, I was actually watching the episode, and I've never done this before. I was watching the episode, and all the stuff on Gallifrey had happened, and I knew it was 65 minutes long. I knew it was a slightly extended episode. And about half an hour in, I looked at the clock on the mantelpiece, and I went, nothing's happened in half an hour.
Yeah, that's what Kat said. She said, nothing's happening in this story.
And it's like, so there's half an hour. What's the story going to be? And then she comes back, and it's like, okay, all right, I got you. So I gave that 4. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. I'll give it. I would not recommend it. I'd say like a 6 or above is an episode. I'd say, yeah, it's all right. Go and watch it. This is like, I would not recommend it, but I enjoyed it for the fact that we saw Gallifrey and we saw all this stuff. And I know that he only put that in to distract us from the lack of a plot, but I'll accept it. I'll give it a 5 out of 10.
I mean, one of the things that annoys me with this is that the Doctor goes to great lengths to bring Clara back from the dead, but other companions have died, and he's never gone, I'm going to destroy the time stream just to bring her back. It's
other characters who have meant more to the Doctor.
Yeah, really. Someone posted a good edit on Facebook earlier today, which was of the TARDIS all graffitied by Rigsy. And instead of having Clara's face, it had Lucy Miller's face.
I saw that. And
it was like, she dies in a far more powerful and emotional way than, she sacrifices herself for the good of everything. And the Doctor, Paul McGann, isn't like, right, that's it. I'm going to Gallifrey, and I'm going to cut into one of those little white rooms, and I'm going to bring her back from the point where she dies. And...
No, stop it. Don't do the impression.
He doesn't do that. He just goes, that's horrible, and gets on with it. Because that's what the Doctor is. That's what he does. He just gets on with things. I don't know.
What would you give it out of 10?
Probably what you said. Maybe 5, something like that.
You sound like you enjoyed it more. So do I now have to give it a 4?
No, I don't know. No, because I think there are issues with it. I mean, we haven't even talked about the hybrid yet. The hybrid.
Let's not. Okay, all right. Just one question. Just one very simple question, Matthew.
Okay.
That you've got to answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Having watched this whole series, and as a Doctor Who fan who has actually been attentive, watched every episode of the series, maybe more than once.
Oh, yeah.
And you've watched the last episode twice.
Yeah.
Who is the hybrid?
The Doctor and Clara are the hybrid.
Okay. How?
Because rather than... It's bullshit, because it's like
No. How?
How? Well, I don't know. Just Stephen Moffat says.
and how were the Time Lords aware of this being a prophecy?
I don't know.
What's the prophecy? What's the effect? What is the effect on the universe they're going to have? Because it was fine without, What's the effect?
It was only until he tried to get it back that. I don't.
What great calamity is going to affect Gallifrey and destroy the universe by them being together?
I don't know. I don't know. It was easily, Stephen Moffat has already proven that when it comes to story arcs, he's bollocks. And I say that with reference to the Silence arc, which was the most convoluted, poorly plotted pile of pigeon droppings ever. I still don't really know what's going on with the Silence. To be honest, I don't care. Comes to the hybrid, it's just like, I'll just make it up as I go along. There's a prophecy. It says that this creature will stand in the ruins of Gallifrey. Come to the end. Actually, it's two things, and it's shit. It's just nonsense. Utter nonsense. Yeah, it was just poor. Absolutely poor. Someone has actually just posted here. Soul Cartilage has said the Dr. Donna shit was kind of like the hybrid. Yeah, and I think Kat, did you say? Yeah, Kat said that as well. She said surely Donna is more of a hybrid because she was for a moment part Time Lord, part human. Which apparently you can't do. It's a whole thing that it's not possible to have a human Time Lord hybrid. And yet Stephen Moffat comes along and goes, "So Doctor, why do you like Earth so much?" And it's just like everyone who's like, "Fuck me, not this TV movie stuff again." Please,
I could not
Christ,
believe he cracked it up.
Yeah, you just want Paul McGann to go in and be like, "No,
no." Honestly, the whole episode, just stuff like that. It was just a load of no, don't do it, stop it, just don't get ahead of yourself. Stop the whole half human, and that half human thing is going to come up next year probably. That'll be next year's arc.
Please, no, just leave it. We were happy just ignoring it. See, this is the thing. So obviously we've this whole hybrid shit arc, and it's extra shit because it fucks up why the Doctor left Gallifrey. Oh, I left Gallifrey because of the prophecy. Fuck me, did you? You didn't do it because of that. You left Gallifrey because you were bored, because you got in trouble with the Time Lords, and you needed to get out of there. None of this hybrid crap, none of this prophecy crap. And do you know what's going to happen? We're going to get a new showrunner one day who's going to come along, and when that question gets asked about why did you leave Gallifrey, he's not going to go, "Oh, there was this prophecy stuff." He's going to say, "I was bored." And he'll say it unequivocally. And I want him to say, "I was bored, not because of the hybrid, whatever that's all about.
Yeah,
I was bored." Carrying on the conversation. I just don't want anything. It's just nonsense. This is going to be like another Wotan situation. It's going to be Doctor Who is required. Did he say that? Just ignore it.
Yeah.
I'm half human on my mother's side. Did he say that? Just ignore it.
I'm not going to take any point you make seriously if you keep doing that fucking voice.
I'll just do the rest of the podcast in the voice, shall
I can't even hear you. Hang on. Just make sure the next thing you say is not in that voice.
Okay.
Okay. It was just... Go on. I'm just trying to speak over you before you go.
Sorry, no, you carry on.
No, it was just... He's like... I don't want to do a personal vendetta thing. Do you know what I mean? I don't want this to be about
I know what you
one
mean.
person. I don't want this to be about one... He's got a family. He's got feelings. He probably doesn't like people talking shit about him online. That's why he left Twitter. Because if he was on Twitter now, by God, he would be seriously depressed if he saw what was going on Twitter right now. Do you know what I mean? Like, if he was still on there and people were still chatting shit about him, he'd be gone. There'd be no way he'd be staying on there for any lengthy period of time.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, like I said, I don't want to. Nobody who ever is in this community wants to make anything personal towards the show they love, because the show is bigger than one person. But I think the problem is that Stephen doesn't think the show is bigger than just one person. I think he thinks this is the Stephen Moffat show, and he will do anything in his power to, like a kid playing in a. I saw Mr. TARDIS Reviews put this really well, and I'll say it entirely his credit. Something about a kid playing in a sandpit and wrecking it, and now the next showrunner who comes in is now going to have to fix it for him. And I do not, like he said, I do not envy the person who has to come in after Stephen and fix all this stuff that he's done.
Yeah, I think it is just going to end up having to be a case of pretend it didn't happen.
That's quite depressing, though, for a writer. That's quite sad, I should say, for a writer who's coming in saying, you know, who's done all this time on the show.
Yeah.
Who's you know, invested an awful lot of himself in it. Not in the same way that, you know, hang on, who wrote the War Machines? That's horrific. Who wrote the War Machines?
I don't know. I don't know his name.
Okay, I'm definitely not
searching Kit Pedler, was it?
For it online. The War Machines. No. I actually am. It's quite depressing that somebody who comes into the show to have an effect on it like that.
Yeah.
Is now having people saying, "Oh, Ian Stewart Black."
That's him, yeah.
Who also wrote fantastic stories like The Savages and The Macra Terror.
Macra Terror is pretty good. All right.
Okay, fine, all right. But, you know,
it's all right.
to have his legacy, you know, Ian Stewart Black, you know, he's probably dead now. He probably, you know, doesn't care. He was just a show he wrote for. He doesn't care that people are going to go, oh, you know, it's just something I wrote in a script. You know, it doesn't matter to me. This guy is the showrunner. I think I think there's something fundamentally wrong about the idea of the showrunner. Barry Letts didn't attend conventions.
No.
I mean, granted, conventions weren't around at the time that he was in charge. But you would not. I don't think you would have seen Barry Letts turning up at a convention and swearing in front of a room full of kids.
No.
I think he would have. You know, if anything, he would have been handing out pamphlets on Buddhism, which is great. Yeah, actually, I've got a Buddhist symbol on the back of my shirt. I won't show it. I don't know, it's infecting my speech. But you know, I think there's something fundamentally a little bit iffy about a showrunner who puts himself into the public eye that much.
Yeah, you know, Russell T Davies was never like that. Really, he'd do the odd. You know, he'd do the Doctor Who magazine interview. He'd do the Radio Times interview. Yeah, and
he'd attend the odd press launch, but he wouldn't turn up on Doctor Who's greatest hits. So, like, he might be on Doctor Who Confidential, and that's it. He wasn't on the Doctor Who website every week saying the stories that's the greatest thing we've ever written, and
that irritates me. It's like, oh, you get ready,
but
sleep no more.
Prepared to be devastated. Like,
everyone has to face the Raven.
This episode is going to leave people a little bit devastated. And it's like,
it did.
It did. Yeah, I'm harrowed by what I just watched.
But not for the reasons that you thought.
Nope. Oh no.
Maybe it was. Maybe it was just sat there and like, I'm gonna really fuck with them. This is gonna devastate you. I'm gonna just shit on everything you know and love about the main character.
Did I tell you? I'm sure I told you about all the stuff that happened at the Doctor Who London Comic Con. Oh, did I tell you about that
festival?
No, London Comic Con.
Oh no, what was this?
Where somebody at the Doctor Who Q&A,
right?
Somebody stood up and said, somebody handing you over there. So hands the microphone. When are you going to leave? And half the room cheered. Because some of my friends went, and they went to the Doctor Who panel. And they were telling me afterwards, knowing that I'd be like so gleeful that they told me this. Somebody said, "When are you going to leave?" And half the room applauded, which obviously didn't quite ring that well with Steve, who then completely failed to find it funny in any way, and then went on to say, "Well, I've got some stories under my belt that I still want to tell, and I'll leave once I've finished telling those stories." Not a hint of irony, which then made what was 50% of the audience clap at the beginning, then 70% of the people in the audience started clapping at the idea of him leaving because of how dogged he was in his impression of it. And then apparently they went to a Sherlock panel afterwards that he was at. Somebody asked him a question about Doctor Who. And obviously the events earlier in the day hadn't set him in good stead.
No.
And again, in front of a room full of kids and in front of this audience, he said, "Can I just go to one fucking Sherlock panel where someone doesn't ask me a question about fucking Doctor Who?"
Oh no! Holy crap! Bloody hell!
It's a little bit like, I think everybody in the room probably went, "Oh, sorry, Dad."
Right, mate.
Yeah, oh, Jesus.
Did anyone turn around and say, "Why did you make series 3 of Sherlock shit?" And
yes,
clearly pandering for the Tumblr audience.
We've just had a message from Stephen Bell. Thank you very much. Although the message has now disappeared, saying that it was that Ian Stuart Black did not write The War Machines. It was Innes Lloyd.
Oh, interesting.
Which is apparently he didn't write a Doctor Who. It was Innes Lloyd. Innes Lloyd went back and script edited it as Doctor Who.
Oh, right.
And apparently that's why in other stories he signs his name Dr. W.
Yeah, is it Underwater Menace? Or is it the Highlanders?
No, in Underwater Menace he uses his name in German, doesn't he?
Is he Dr. Von?
Dr. Von something.
Or is that Highlanders? Highlanders is Dr. Von Bear. Yeah, and then in Underwater Menace he signs the card Dr. W, I think. Or the other way around. It's Patrick.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was Hellbent. I'm going to give it a 4.
I still think there's more we need to say about this.
Okay. Well, what else can we say?
Like Clara, why bring her back?
We haven't really spoken much about Clara, yeah.
No, I mean that's the main issue here is that we had, we tied her up. Tyson nearly said we tied her up in a nice bow. Then we tied her story up in a nice bow. She died. The end. No, let's bring her back. And not just that, let's make her sort of immortal for all intents and purposes. Give her a TARDIS, give her a companion that no one likes, and stick them in a TARDIS looking like an American diner, of all things, and send her off on her way. And the Radio Times posted a thing today saying, fans are rallying for a Clara spin-off, and the amount of people on my feed, like Ed Jones and Matt Chambers, who posted, "No, we're really not." And what fans?
Okay, hang on. I have to say one thing. That line that not many people have talked about, but I'll say it now, and you'll remember it, and you'll get really pissed off.
Oh God, I'm gripping hold of the chair. Get ready.
I can't remember what the lead in for it was, what the feed line was, but just Capaldi saying, "Clara who?"
Oh God, yeah. Oh dear. It's like
because last year everybody on Twitter. See, this is the thing. He just likes to wind people up like the Sonic Shades. Everybody on Twitter last year was saying it's become Clara who, and he's put that line in there to piss people off.
Yeah. It's petty, isn't it? It's petty.
Petty. It's a television program. You don't take out your petty grievances with the audience in the script for your television program that's watched by, like 4.2 million, but like watched by millions of viewers.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to turn it personal. Let's not make this personal. Let's move on.
What's quite funny is, I noticed this the other day, and he's actually come out and said it now. But the other day he made a point about bringing back River Song for the Christmas special. And he said, the reason why I did it was because I thought this would be my only chance to bring her back, because I didn't think at that point I would ever write for Doctor Who again. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And he has since confirmed that at that point of doing the Christmas special, he had not signed on for Series 10. In that same early interview, he also said, I'd never, when someone asked him about, oh, when do you plan on going? He said, oh, I'd never leave this program in the lurch. So I'm putting 2 and 2 together to make 4 here, but I could be making 5.
Go on.
But to me, that sounds like the BBC were like, okay, Stephen, you're going, but we don't have anyone to take your place. And Stephen Moffat probably thought, oh, well, I guess I'm going to have to sign on for another year. That's how it came across to me. I could be wrong. But it just seemed a bit like, I didn't plan to do another year at that point. And now, I'd never leave it in the lurch. It was in the lurch. Now I'm doing a 10th series, not 10th series. I'm doing another series that wasn't originally on the cards.
But I've got to say with that, though, it depends how early he'd been told he's doing series 10. Because
that is true.
Otherwise, being Stephen Moffat, he probably would have written a story where like Capaldi regenerates into him, and then because he's not there anymore, they'd have to retcon. Oh, what was that one scene where he turned into that other Scottish fella with like weird hair and a bit of a podge? Like, like how would they have worked that out? You know. Something just popped up. It's just a little thing about he's not the Doctor when he's got the black coat. What was with that weird costume he had through that episode? Yeah. Capaldi's gone through so many weird, pointless mid-story costume changes. I didn't get it because I suppose it might be down to Peter's performance. I don't know, but I didn't link the character we saw, the vengeful, fierce character we saw in Heaven Sent, with the character we saw in Hellbent. Like in the beginning, because he was still cracking jokes with people. As opposed to putting his shades on and being like, I'm home and I'm gonna, fuck shit up. Like it was weird. It was like it wasn't like the two characters didn't mesh together. The two different, emotions. The Doctor, because he was still making jokes about, oh, you've cut my style. Look at your hats, and what color is it, and stuff like that. It's like this isn't the vengeful soft bloke who's just lost his best friend in the past 2 episodes.
Yeah, and she said that, didn't she? The lady from Cannes, she said, oh, this is no time to play the fool.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. I mean, I don't like all this stuff.
It really isn't.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like all this stuff like, oh, I can't be the Doctor all the time. It's like, oh, don't. I'm not sure if I really like all this thing about it.
It's just putting a label on it.
Yeah.
It's just like making an excuse for the way he behaves.
Yeah. It's just, I'm gonna put this in there, but it's a bit like spoilers for spoilers for you because you've not seen this film yet. It's a bit like The Dark Knight Rises, and
Hang on. What are you saying? I haven't seen that film yet.
Yeah, he's not seen The Dark Knight Rises. Oh, I thought you haven't seen it. You said you watched Batman Begins the other day.
I know, but I've seen Batman Begins like once or twice before.
Oh, I thought you'd never seen it. Oh, sorry.
I saw The Dark Knight Rises in the cinema on the weekend it came out.
I'm sorry.
It's fine.
Oh, okay. Apologies.
Go on.
I'll say that. It's not a spoiler for you. But it's like in The Dark Knight Rises, that whole thing about, Batman is, is something that that anyone can be Batman. And I think the sort of thing they're trying to say here is that anyone could be Doctor Who. Like Clara. Clara could be the Doctor. And look at her at the end. She's got her own TARDIS. That's quite a nice
message, though. I like that. That's quite a nice message about like humanity. Like anybody could be powerful or strong or brave or courageous and not cowardly.
Anyone could be a man with 2 hearts that regenerates.
Anybody could be Scottish.
Anybody could be a man with 2 hearts.
Oh, here we are. And and the marker is made. The line is drawn in the sand. That line he drew in the sand, was it? I don't know if it was about me, but I thought he was drawing it. This is like completely off topic. So like say this screen now, the point of view shot is the ship. When I first saw that clip, I thought he was drawing the line like that towards him. I didn't get that he was drawing the line in the sand like that. But that bit about drawing the line in the sand, that's in one of the demo scripts, the audition scripts for the Doctor that Steve Moffat wrote.
Was it really?
It was between like him and a Cyberman.
Oh,
and it was like, I'm drawing this line in the sand to. Why am I playing it like I'm doing the voice of the Doctor I play. It's like, you know,
Will I be the Cyberman?
Go on then. Hang on. What Doctor would I be? I'd have to be. Well, it was Matt Smith at the time. So I'm drawing this line in the sand to demark that you may not pass this point because I'm protecting those people on the other side of the line, and you know all this shit.
To which the cyber leader should just kill him.
do the Cyberman line. Just say anything. Hang on. I think can we have a Cyberman off and people vote who's the better who does the better cyber voice?
Who's the better Cyberman voice?
What
voice are we doing though?
David Banks, just clench your fist and say excellent.
Excellent.
Okay. Excellent. Oh, you might have won that actually. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. 5 out of 10.
Yeah. So
I actually don't know what to say about the episode.
Looking to the future, one that hopefully does not contain Clara or Maisie Williams. Looking to the future, this is funny. Just as a side note, just so that people who are like, yeah, you know, Doctor Who is fine. You know, people love Doctor Who. They really don't. I was watching the finale in the office at work, right? And
where do you work, Matt? Tell everybody.
At Yog Towers,
no,
at the Yogscast.
No way.
Yeah, yes way. And all the other editors, we were all having our lunch, and they were sat behind me, and they were chatting. And they always, because I've been watching lots of old Doctor Who, we always have a little bit where they'll laugh at something that's going on the screen, like, or there's a cry on, oh, she got a plastic bag on her head, and I'm like, yeah, it's not a plastic bag. But in this case, it was like, oh yeah, I heard that Maisie Williams is going to be the new assistant. Now they didn't know I was listening at this point. And one of the other editors turned around and went, oh, it's a bit of a come down from Game of Thrones, isn't it? And I was like,
wow.
Yeah, wow, you're right. So that is literally what they thought. And then one of them was sort of like, oh, you're right.
Well, I've got to say, like, the show that's been running for like 52 years versus the show that started a couple of years ago and has now got a bigger fan following and now got a more dedicated audience than the show now.
Worrying.
Do you know, I was thinking the other day, I can't remember what context it was in, but I was thinking about, right, if I was in charge of the show, what would I do to bolster it? And the first thing I thought of in terms of success and the way I would want the show to be viewed was Game of Thrones. The way that the fans react to that every episode and the kudos that has. Yeah. I was thinking that is where I would want to pitch it if I was going to go into a BBC World office with obviously you as my co-showrunner and say,
thank you.
This is, like, I want it to be as popular as Game of Thrones and I want people to look at it and watch it like Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones has got breasts and lots of sex in it, though.
Yeah, I know. You don't need that, though. All you need is...
Yeah, but that's probably part of the reason why people tune in.
Well, I know, but I doubt they... I mean, I don't know if Stevens asked Jenna to whop one out. I don't know. But... on camera, there's nothing to do with anything backstage. Oh, my God. I'm never getting a job there now. We're never getting just the one. We're never getting a job there now.
No, that's all right. I've already offended Reece Shearsmith, so.
Yeah, like he's got any leverage with BBC Worldwide.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's it. That's the final nail in the coffin. That is.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our future. Buggered.
At least we've got you guys watching.
Yeah.
That's all right. And what can they expect, Matt? When can we see the Return to Earth video?
Oh yeah, that's very soon. The first one is ready. So
excellent.
So and it's going to be more than one because rather than put it into one video, I thought there's good stuff here. So that's going to be a few episodes. There'll be a few episodes. I don't know how far we got. We didn't get very far.
We got like 11 and a half in. I've got to say, like, I've not seen any of the footage since I sent it back to you. And I can't remember anything from it. So
and neither could I, because it had been such a long time ago. And when I was going through it, it's like, oh, this is funny.
It's going to be awesome. Like just watching it back again. I can't remember a thing from it. So
reliving it.
reliving the
Yeah.
excitement of playing that game for the first time.
Oh dear.
Oh no. Yeah. Somebody's okay. So the overwhelmingly, you've won the cyber battle.
Oh, have I? Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, guys.
But they want to know who does a better Dalek. Now, I've got a question about Dalek voices.
Okay.
When you did them for your action figure series,
Yeah.
Nicholas Briggs. When you did them for your action figure series, how much of the voice do you put in, and how much is modulated?
You put in all of the voice.
Right. Okay.
That's the thing.
Okay.
See, a lot of people think that you can just get a ring modulator and go exterminate.
Yeah.
That's what. Sure. That's not gonna get you anywhere.
You cretins with your little exterminators, your little hey, we do it properly, you know. See, I can't do a proper like screechy like one. I can, it's like we're in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. There's just two people going forth, going like I can
drooling in the corner.
I can do like a lieutenant level sort of.
Oh, we're getting into uncharted territory here.
This is like
hierarchy.
So let's pitch this, right? So the grunty ones that are sort of the ones that just get twitchy and excited and just want to blast stuff that go out onto the planet's surface and just start going, oh Jesus, hit the microphone. Those ones are that really slightly higher. Those ones are the ones that go slightly higher ones, right? Those are the really high screechy ones. Right. Yeah. I know. I'm asking you.
Oh, right. If they can be.
And then obviously, like the Supreme is like, you know, deep and booming, right?
Well, it depends, because like in the 60s, the Supreme was always higher.
I don't like that though, because it makes him sound a bit. It makes him sound a bit cretinous if he's just like.
And in the 80s, like in Resurrection of the Daleks, he's quite high. I think. I can't think of any lines that the Supreme Dalek says.
I know. I think he just sounds like.
No, in Resurrection of the Daleks, he speaks a lot like this, which is very strange.
What was that? Who did that voice?
Well, one of them was Brian Miller, so Elizabeth Sladen's husband.
Wow, and that's the only reason he got that job. He did not get it off the strength of his Dalek voice.
I quite like the voices in that story.
I don't like that. They just sound like a bloke who's just like sidled up to Roy Skelton in the canteen and gone, "What does your voice sound like?" Oh, all right, okay, and then that's it. That's it.
His job.
Just do a quick imitation of it. It's like, is it higher or lower? It's a bit higher than that, or I'll do that. And then they do the voice like that. It doesn't sound like a proper Dalek. But like, okay, so grunts are squeaky, Supremes are deep.
Yeah.
And then like scientists and lieutenants are sort of on the regular Dalek scale.
Oh, I don't know. I just do whatever I feel like.
I'm just winding you up.
No, there's an art to it.
But if there's a cyber lieutenant, he always has to be slightly higher, like that.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
He's always he's like the commanding leader, and then the one that speaks a bit, is a little bit more. He's a little bit more. Oh no, but it could go wrong, sort of thing. He's like the Crichton of the group.
Yeah.
He's a bit like, oh no, sir, don't do that. It's a bit,
There's the one in Attack of the Cybermen on Telos, and he sort of sounds a bit like this.
If we're talking about Cybermen and Attack of the Cybermen, we've got to talk about Michael Kigarov's gut, because that's like,
I know,
that's incredible. Anyway,
the pregnant Cyberman.
I think we've talked about Dalek voices and cyber voices for about 10 minutes, so it's probably time to wrap this up.
Yeah. Right. Well, Christmas special, The Husbands of River Song.
Oh,
what did you think when you saw that trailer?
I didn't. I just went.
Oh, did you turn it off?
I saw the trailer. I didn't think when I saw it. I just went, oh my. But like, great. What was that noise?
That was Kat. She's playing Legend of Zelda.
Okay. For the first time, I just went, do you know what? I don't think I'd be sad if I missed that.
Yeah.
I don't think I would. And I was excited with Greg Davis, and I like Matt Lucas, and I just thought that these guys are going to be quite interesting to see in that context. But then,
as soon as I heard they were in it, I just went,
really,
oh dear, yeah,
really,
here we go. It's going to be one of those stories. You
uh,
know, it really annoys me that Christmas has to be a light-hearted, rompy story because everyone's pissed and everyone's filled up with turkey and Christmas dinner. You know, I'd like a good ghost story.
yeah,
good ghost story.
Oh, Mark Gatiss writing a Christmas episode.
Yeah, that's what Kat said. She said she'd do it. She was
That'd
going to
be
do it.
amazing if Mark Gatiss just like wrote like one of those old BBC Christmas ghost stories, like Whistle and I'll Come to You. Oh my god, that'd be so good.
Yeah, so that's what we need.
Whistle and I'll Come to You.
Or just do it straight. Don't do it silly necessarily. You can do like a lighter story.
Would you necessarily have to do a Christmas story set at Christmas?
No. I mean, only because the BBC say everything on BBC One looks like it's set at Christmas. So you better set that at Christmas too. Because otherwise, if all of a sudden people are tuning in to Doctor Who and there's no tinsel or snow or Christmas trees or baubles.
Mate, that's Mary Whitehouse. That's Mary Whitehouse you're doing an impression of.
Yeah, it's Mary Whitehouse. They might think that they've slept through Christmas Day.
No. You are actually now just doing Mary Whitehouse. The amount of sex and violence on television. Or it sort of sounds like when Eddie Hitler does an impression of somebody from the north.
My favourite Mary Whitehouse is, and the child has to sit there with that in their mind for a whole
week.
Yeah. Oh
no.
How will they survive?
Of all the
and when she
80 years they might live, 1 week with the image of Tom Baker's face in their head.
Yeah. Oh, so funny. It's like, oh yeah, you know, little Timmy, his dad came back from the war and lost both of his legs, but that didn't traumatize him in any way. Seeing Tom Baker getting drowned, that was the worst thing.
Was she still around when Colin Baker pushed those guys into acid?
Yeah, I think so. When was she talking about that?
Seeing what she thought about that.
She probably wasn't watching it then. She's probably like, it's gone downhill now.
She'd moved on to hardcore pornography by that point.
Probably.
Okay then. Right. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, so
that was a roller coaster. That was
fun. That was a good laugh. Right. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this rampage.
Whatever this was.
Yeah, this very strange assortment of I keep thinking that there's something else we must have missed, but no,
probably. We'll cover it in
if we've missed something, leave a comment and we'll come back to it another time. So thank you once again for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. It's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
And we shall see you all again very soon. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye. It'll stay in your mind for a whole week.